Hello and welcome to Retro Reviews, my channel where I review my favorite retro video games of all time, as well as some modern releases I've recently finished. The retro title that I want to look at today is Battletoads for the NES. I love the Battletoads franchise. I have great memories of it from my childhood. I played Battletoads and Double Dragon on the SNES. Absolutely loved it. It was really hard. I never beat it until I was an adult. And I've been trying to go through all the Battletoads games and beat them because they are pretty well known for how difficult they are. And the NES one has taken me the longest by far. This game is ridiculously brutal in its difficulty. And I just have a lot of things to say about this one. I like a good challenge in a video game. I've played through Ninja Gaiden on the NES. I've played through a bunch of other classic games that I've reviewed for this channel even that are really difficult. I love how the NES gave you stuff that felt like it was impossible, and then finally figuring it out and beating the game feels like a really momentous thing. It feels similar to like playing a Dark Souls game, in all honesty. It's like the thrill of overcoming the challenge. But some games like Battletoads are hard for a variety of reasons. They can be hard because the platforming can be a little tricky sometimes, or the enemy placement, like making sure that you're spacing your attacks well so you're not getting hit, timing things well. But it's also really difficult because of how hard it is to react in this game. There are about, I think if I'm counting right with bosses and such, there's like 13 levels in this game. I'll try and go through each and every one of them. If I miss them, I'll try and show some footage on screen so that we don't miss anything. The opening level is very basic. It's a very nice introduction to the game. You just go around beating up some baddies. It teaches you how to pick up items off of the ground and how to use them as well. It has a nice little boss fight at the very end of the level. That's pretty ingenious, having like the camera, it shifts to like the perspective of the machine shooting at the Battletoad it's himself, and then you throwing a ball back at it that it drops on, tries to shoot at you. It's really genius. I love this first level. It really teaches you everything you need to know about this game. It teaches you, if you're playing in co-op, that you can hurt each other very easily, which is pretty darn funny. I think that's hilarious in this game. Playing this co-op is probably harder than playing this in solo mode, and it just teaches you the basics of how everything works. If you dash and you attack when you're close enough to an enemy, you'll sprout like ram horns or something else based on which toad you're using. You get like super giant fists that'll pop out. It's very comical, it's very cartoony, it's very good. I like what this opening level is. Moving on to the next level is like drop into a crater where you're rappelling down. There are certain like obstacles in your way. Sometimes there's like birds that will come and try and attack you, or little snake things that are attached to the wall, or little robots that pop out of nowhere to try and hit you, or little electrical things that slowly stretch across the screen that you have to avoid. Some other enemies that will be like another bird variant that will snap your line in half and kill you instantly, no matter how much health you have. But if you beat them, you get like a sword-esque thing that you can use to smoke the rest of the enemies on the level. It's a very cool level, a very nice second level in a video game, especially one this hard. It, again, teaches you the ropes. Pun intended here, since you're rappelling here. But it really teaches you how this game works. First two levels are excellent. And after that, it throws you straight into the fire. It gives you absolutely it gives no regard for how you feel as a player. It says, screw you, do your best. You're not going to beat this level for a very long time. This is the refiner's fire of the game. And it's not the only one. There are definitely more later on, but this is the one that will test you. If you can't get past the speeder level, you are doomed to never beat this game, because the speeder level is ridiculous. Now, this level is synonymous with Battletoads on the NES for how brutally difficult it is, how precise you have to be in your movements in order to not hit a wall or not miss a jump over an obstacle. It's just ridiculous here. And this is my main gripe with Battletoads in the NES, not just with this level, but other levels as well. As this level progresses, I did the first half of the speeder section, first try, just reaction based, just doing my thing. And I felt pretty good about myself. I was like, I'm about to brag to my brother that I beat the speeder section first try. No big deal. And then it starts to get insane. It stops being reaction based and becomes something that you just have to know the pattern, memorize the pattern ahead of time, or you're screwed. And that's it. There's just no other rhyme or reason to it. And this is perpetuated later on in the game as well. Later levels will have the same thing, where if you just know the pattern, now you have to react to the knowledge you have in your brain. You have to say, okay, I know what's coming up next, and I have to execute perfectly in order to get past this. But if you don't know it, you're going to spend a lot of time trying to learn this because you don't have a lot of lives. It's pretty easy to die in these speeder sections, and in the later ones that are kind of like it, you can die immediately by hitting a wall or by hitting an obstacle. And you only have a certain amount of lives that you can accrue by either getting 1-ups throughout the world or by getting 100,000 points. That'll give you one up, but they deplete very quickly. It's a good thing you have save states if you're emulating this game, or you have the rewind feature on Rare Replay, because otherwise this game would take eons. It would take so much practice, so much work, unless you were just studying film. Honestly, that's the best way I can put this. There are so many times in this game that just feel like I have to know what's coming, and I can't know what's coming until I've experienced it and died for it. And that kind of sucks. That kind of difficulty is not my favorite. This game doesn't excel at platforming, despite Rare being pretty well known for platforming later on in their pedigree, but early on their platforming is not that awesome, and you definitely feel it in Battletoads. There are some times where you'll just jump over a gap and you'll fall to your doom, or you'll hit a spike that's slightly too high, or like you jump a little bit too high and hit a spike above you or below you, like in the ice level after the speeder level. The speeder level actually has a little warp pad that will warp you past the ice block. It's actually harder to avoid this warp pad than anything. It'll warp you past the ice level to the next level in the game, which is really awesome because the ice level is ridiculously hard. It's so brutal. It's fun, it's interesting, but ice levels in NES games, I don't know what they were doing back then. They really just needed to die. This one, it was fun for a little bit and then got really, really hard. But the next level is really awesome. It goes into like a little surfing section, much better than the speeder section, much better than the later vehicle sections. This one is pretty basic. You're just avoiding mines and avoiding logs and stuff, trying to get to the next place. There's a boss fight in there with the rat boss in this. It's really fantastic. The boss fights in this across the board are pretty basic, but nice. They do the job pretty well. I think they're exactly what you would expect out of an NES game like this, especially from a beat 'em up like Battletoads. I think they work really, really well. Moving on from there, if I'm remembering right, oh shoot, I don't know if I'm remembering right. What comes after the surfing level? I'll have it up on here. Hopefully I'll be able to, I'll just start talking about levels. If I don't have them in the right order, just know that I'm trying to cover all of them here. So after the surfing level, you'll move on to some other challenges. I don't think this is the very next level, but it's another vehicle level where you're on like a little plane and you're avoiding fireballs. The first part of the level is just like classic beat 'em up, a little bit of platforming, and then it's the plane section. You're avoiding missiles and fireballs, and then you are avoiding firewalls, going through tiny gaps. It's ridiculously hard to avoid these. This is the one that I think is almost harder than the speeder section because you have no clue, no indication when something's going to be coming. So you start off with flying through gaps, and then it starts with the gaps closing in on you, and you have to fly through the middle. And then they're like opening up, so you have to be as far back as you possibly can. And again, there's no rhyme or reason to it. You just have to know ahead of time. And at the very end of the level, you have it will give you a little bit of warning as to where it is, and then it starts going super fast. You have no time to react. I had to rewind like 50 times just to finish a couple of these and get through the level in time. It was absolutely brutal. You also have, I think this is the next one before that level I was just talking about, is the snake level. This level sucks. I hate this level with all of my soul. You will essentially be going on like the game Snake, where the snake eats the apple and goes, it'll like bend down, go right, go up. You have to follow it while avoiding spikes in order to get to the next hole where another snake will pop out. You have to climb up them, you have to jump down them. Typically you can't even see where they're going. You have to make a leap of faith as soon as the tail's getting close to you. It sucks from across the board. The snakes get super fast at times. It's really hard. The momentum doesn't carry over in your jumps sometimes. You land on spikes. It sucks. I hate this level. I think it's the worst level of the entire game. Absolutely 100%. It's just absolutely awful. You'll get other levels where you have to do some platforming, and they'll have like electricity pulsing through some of the platforms, and you have to be really precise with your platforming in order to avoid those, otherwise you'll take damage. Like you have a cool boss fight at the end of that where the guy shoots at you and jumps around. That one's actually pretty darn fun. I really enjoyed that one. You'll have another level where after that with where you race a rat. It's called Rat Race, where like a quarter of the way through the level, all of a sudden a rat will spawn, and you have to book it, and you have to be extremely precise with how you fall, dodging platforms. You can't land even for a second. If you make any mistakes, you have to headbutt the rat and then drop down a platform and keep headbutting him over and over again because you're racing to the bottom to boot a timed bomb out of the way. Otherwise you blow up and you lose. it's ridiculously hard. I had to watch a walkthrough on the second race because the second one is ridiculous. It didn't feel like it was possible to beat him. That's because I didn't know you could headbutt him and stop him. But he's really fast. It's really precise. It's ridiculous. As you progress throughout the game, I'll probably miss a level here, a level or two here. I know this video is getting a little bit longer. As you progress through the rest of the game, you'll finally ascend a tower where platforming is extremely precise, and any miss will cost you a life. And it doesn't feel very fun. The climbing the tower doesn't feel particularly fun. The enemies, the way that they attack you kind of suck. They can blow you off these platforms, so you have to be precise on anyway at a moment's notice. Climbing the tower feels like one of the biggest slogs in the entire game. Again, sometimes it'll feel like I should have made that jump, or I should have landed on that platform, and I just didn't. Platforming in this game just doesn't work very well sometimes, especially in this level. But once you get to the top of the tower, you'll fight the final boss, who has been taunting you this entire game. You'll beat her. She does like a little spinny tornado thing. Her feet are vulnerable. The lower half of her body is vulnerable, so you can headbutt her even when she's in the tornado thing. But if you mess up, you are going to lose your life right away. It's a pretty easy fight once you get the rhythm down, but it can be a little bit tricky at times. And then you get a nice little cutscene. That's the end of the game. It was ridiculously hard to beat this one, even with like a replay feature like I had on my Xbox, but it was still a lot of fun. This still is a Battletoads game. You know what you're signing up for here. Before I conclude my thoughts here, I have to talk about the actual least favorite level from this game that I just remembered. This is a tandem one. There's one level where you will run from like a cog chasing you, and you have to get to the end of this thing and either slot into a little like U-shaped thing or jump to the side of it because the thing is going to roll into it, and it doesn't tell you when. It doesn't, like, sometimes you have to drop into the U, sometimes you have to get away from it, and then the thing will explode and open up the path for you. That level sucked. It was a lot of trial and error, a lot of just bull crap. And again, if you're like playing this on the NES way back in the day, you just have to reset and try this over and over again. Get all the way back to that level just to try and learn the right pattern. Thank goodness for save states now. But the actual hardest level and the stupidest level, in my opinion, is one where you have like a little, like, I don't even know what it is. It's a little roller thing that you hold on to. And the way that this level works is you have something pursuing you the entire time, and you have to hold the direction that you're supposed to go. And the second, like, frame perfect, when it shifts directions, you need to shift to the next direction. So if you're going right and then it goes down, you have to shift down. If you do it too early, you're going to lose time and it's going to catch up with you and kill you. If you do it too late, you're going to lose frames. It's going to catch up and get you. And then it starts doing like crazy patterns throughout the entirety of the level where you go right, up, left, right, up, down. Like it'll just go absolutely nuts on you really fast. And again, you don't want to miss any frames. Otherwise, you're at risk of losing your life. And did I mention this is all one continuous level that you have to do like perfectly the first try? It's brutal. It's stupid. I hated this. And then they followed up with actually having to fight the thing that was pursuing you as a little boss fight. Sucks. That level and the snake level can bite me. They're the worst. I hate those. If they took those out, this game would be much, much better. But also there's the platforming. So this game has a lot of difficulty, and my biggest issue is that the difficulty feels very artificial, very inflated at times. It feels like a lot of the things that are hard about it just are maybe not the best game design, to be frank here. I feel like maybe a lot of these old NES games, I'm thinking about like Snake, Rattle, and Roll as well, just weren't play tested very well. I don't know. Did the rare people actually beat these games? Because they're ridiculous. I don't know. They had to have been. Maybe they played them one level at a time and they just played them until they beat them, so they know that they're beatable. I don't know. But a lot of these felt really ridiculous. I know if I put way more time into this, I could get to the point where I could beat this game really well and beat it straight up from the top and get all the way to the end. That's a ton of time. It took me a lot of time just doing with the rewind feature, and I still had a good time. I still enjoyed it because I like Battletoads, but there is a lot to not like about this game too. I'm going to be giving Battletoads on the NES a silver rank. I think it's worth your time to revisit, especially if you're a fan of the franchise or if you remember this game from your childhood. But man, do it with save states or a rewind, because this game will just kind of screw you out of your lives faster than you could even know what's going on. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.